Welcome back. Our next guest's life changed forever after suffering a spinal cord injury. Doctors gave him a 0% chance of walking again, but refusing to give up. He slowly began to rebuild his body and his life.
And here to tell us his story is motivational speaker and author Fergus Farrell. Good morning to you, Fergus.
Morning, Fergus.
At your book here, Rebuilding a Man. Mm-hmm. So this is your memoir about that accident and about what happened afterwards and your journey of rebuilding yourself. Can you tell us about the accident?
Yeah, it was just a normal Friday, and the day it happened, I was about to drive a busload of rugby players to Northern Ireland, and I went in and changed into my bus driving outfit and came out, and I seen this bench in the yard, and I was full sure like somebody was going to reverse into that bench and cause me a whole heap of grief in the yard. So like that, because I was in a white shirt, I didn't want to get dirty. It was a rustic bench, no more than 60, 80 kgs. But I asked Sean to lift to the far side of me, so I lifted away from myself and carried it for maybe 15, 20 metres and then dropped it because I got this all merciful pain up through my back. And like that, I don't want to show weakness. I'm a big, strong man, ex-rugby person, and a boss. I took in 10 or 12 really long and deep breaths until the pain subsided. I got up and then said to Sean, come on, we have to move the bench now. And I picked it up and within I took one step and bang. Next it was like somebody put a shotgun to the middle of my back and pulled the trigger. Just massive explosion in the middle of the back. I fell down, roaring in pain. And then eventually I noticed the bench was on top of me, but I couldn't feel it. And then I realised the legs were underneath me and I couldn't move them. And then there was this massive pain. I felt like my belt was melting into my skin. Sensation. It was like a surreal sensation. And my full concentration was trying to get that belt off to relieve that pain. But when I got it off, it just went right down through my legs. And that was that.
Pain went right down through your legs?
Yeah, it was like plastic was just melting on my skin. Now, later on, what I found out what I was basically my nerve endings trying to reconnect. It was just like, that's what was happening. And it was like my legs were just on fire from the belly button down.
This was lifting up a bench?
Just lifting a bench, yeah, and a very high injury, which is very, very unusual, extremely unusual. I was told I was the very first person in the NRH with a thoracic injury from lifting. Thoracic injury is around the mid-range, yeah, from lifting. Yeah.
So when you went to Galway Hospital, you were taken to the hospital in Galway. What did the doctor say to you?
Well, so obviously I got in there, and again, there was so much pain involved here now. It's hard to recollect what they're exactly saying at what times, but when I went in, they basically got an MRI done, and when I came out, they just basically said, you're in trouble here. We have a 12-hour window to operate on you because we had to relieve the pressure out of your spinal cord, and but they couldn't do it in Galway. That sent me to the spinal injury unit. They may have told me at that time what had happened to me, but I don't remember it because genuinely the pain was just horrific. Any little movement was horrific. I remember getting the blue lit to Dublin, and on that ambulance journey they put a compression suit around me, but still it was like I had my hand on an electric fence for that whole trip, just from the vibrating of the gearbox and engine. There was shock after shock after shock up through my body. Yeah, so it was, it wasn't a pleasant moment, that's for sure.
And then they carried out the surgery?
They carried out, it was an 8.5, 9-hour operation and came through the far side of it. And when I came through the far side, obviously I had in my head, I signed off on that waiver form because I just wanted this operation.
Yeah, you
thinking that
pain.
I was going to be better. I wanted that pain gone, maybe some movement, something back. When I woke up, it was just like the movies coming in out of, a consciousness, and next thing I noticed these 2 feet in front of me on a plinth. And like that, still couldn't connect with them. And then that wave of pain started coming over me again. I went, oh man. And it was actually worse now because I had the operational pain in the back, and then tried to connect with these feet, couldn't connect with them. They're belong to me, but there was just no connection whatsoever. And then I tried to touch myself. And again, I couldn't feel myself touching my quads. And then I realised I was catheterised and had a nappy on me as well. I'd lost my bowels and bladder. So I was actually worse off after. I felt I was worse off after the accident because obviously when on the day of the accident I didn't think about my bowels or my bladder. So I died fairly quickly at that stage.
So you were told you were paralysed.
Yeah.
From the waist down.
So from the belly button down.
From the belly button down.
Yeah, belly button down because my bowels and bladder were gone as well.
Yeah.
So that was on day 2. when I first remember being told exactly what happened to me. Again, there was no sleep. The pain was too horrific. No matter how much morphine I was being given, just couldn't sleep. And so he basically sat down and just said, these are your kind of stats. You know, you're a grade A spinal cord injury. You're ruptured your T9, T10, and the T10 has gone through your spinal cord and severed it up by 90%. And that's really what's done all the damage. And he said, if we get moving within 72 hours, you have some sort of chance of regaining strength. He didn't say walk, he just said strength. But however, after 72 hours, your stats are 0.
So what you do?
If there was no movement, if there was any...
Yeah.
So what did you do?
So obviously at that stage, it was time to stop feeling sorry for myself. And I knew I could work hard. I always worked hard all my life. And also had this visualization. I used visualization years ago before it was a thing, really. And that's what I did. I started visualizing, you know, that my brain was the circuit board and that my big right toe was the switch in the wall. And if I could move my big right toe, I'd turn on my light above me. So I visualised that 24/7, like every waking moment I had when there wasn't somebody in with me. And ultimately, after 72 hours, nothing happened. But like that, I was lying flat on my back. It wasn't time to give up on myself. It was the first time in years I actually started really concentrating on myself as a person. Yeah. And thankfully, 21 days later, I moved my big right toe.
21 days later.
Yeah, half 2 at night. Never forget it.
Wow. And then...
So do you end up in the National Rehabilitation Hospital? Is that where you are?
So no, 21 days later I was down at St Finbarr's in Galway. Yeah. Because all I was doing was taking up a bed until they could get me to the NRH, which was a 16 to 18 week window at the time. But because I got movement, I got there, I think it was around 10 weeks.
And then, so what kind of progress did you make then when you were in that hospital?
Once I got that movement on big
once that big toe, that thing of moving your big toe.
Yeah, that, you know, once you've a gain, it's very easy to latch onto and very easy to stay positive. So I latched onto that, and I just, like, I was there in the NRH to do a job. And that was to, again, my mantra at the time was every day was a day to improve, because the medical world was still telling me, you know, you're wheelchair bound for life, you know, and, you know, get used to get your head around that. So I just worked hard. There was a physio room there from 6 to 9 at night, opened by volunteers. I was down there most nights working hard rather than being up watching TV. So I was there to do a job. And then 2 weeks before we exited, we had another meeting with the consultant, you know, occupational therapists and all the people who were looking after me in the NRH. And they basically said, functional in my house and wheelchair bound in public. That was basically the end of the yeah. And I was like, at this stage I was in a rollator on a Zimmer frame with wheels at this stage, and I took that as an office light. And I went down then after that, I had a physio appointment after that, and it was the very first time I said it out loud, I'm going to walk out through these doors.
So they thought that you could maybe be functioning going around the house, but even though you were on this with the Zimmer frame with wheels, they think you couldn't cope outside of your home.
Did you walk out the door?
Did you walk out the door?
I stumbled out through the door on my own 2 feet.
But you did?
Yeah, I did it, yeah.
How long is this time frame from the accident in 2018?
So I walked out through the doors at the end of April, end of April. So what was that? 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, between 5 and 6 months, yeah.
Was this 2018?
2018, yeah. Well, 2019
I
walked out,
okay.
6 months later.
Yeah.
During this time, as you're concentrating, which is unbelievable, you've walked out the door, right? When you were told you had kind of no chance. During this time, your personality is concentrating so much on this. Yeah. Your marriage is completely and utterly affected.
Yeah, because of something I did, obviously, you know.
So you were on dating apps when you were inside the hospital?
On a dating app.
A dating app?
Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
Honestly, I'd love to be able to answer that to this day, but I don't know. And this is all in, you know, looking back. I think it was trying to, you know, talk to somebody who didn't know who I was in my situation. Right. Because bear in mind, I was paralysed from my waist down, and I mean everything was gone. Yeah. You know, so I think it was just to try and talk to somebody who didn't know my situation, and you know, I didn't have, because they didn't know you.
So they didn't know you.
They didn't know anything about you, so you could be whoever you wanted to be.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it was also the worst time in that hospital was after 9 o'clock at night when the lights would go off. And we were in the old hospital, which was like a 16, 18 bed ward. And I tell you, it was a very lonely place when you're trying to sleep and you can't sleep because of the pain, no matter how much medication you go, and you hear other people and you hear some sobbing going on, and because it's like you literally only had a space of wheelchair between yourself and the next bed. Like, it was really tight. So, you know, there was a lot going on in the head, but also I think I got very much, you know, I was very much, I was on a lot of medication.
It's all in the book. Your marriage ends up breaking down.
Yeah.
You end up addicted to opioids. You end up in a very, very dark place, even though you're out of the hospital. You are walking, you are moving.
Yeah.
And an incident at night time where you had suicidal ideation, you end up in Galway near a bridge.
Yeah.
And there's one person there that quite literally stopped you from doing something.
Yeah. And this is the value of relationships, in my opinion. It was Ger Brady, a guy who I used to play College under 21s with, the Irish under 18s and all that type of stuff, and within Galwegians as well. And that day he found me less than 200 metres away from the bridge. But what happened was, basically, obviously my parents would love me, my sister would love me, and my cousin put out an alert, you know, to the Gardaí, and that I was in trouble. And he heard my name, and I hadn't seen him in years. He heard my name on the CB of the Gardaí.
Yeah, he's a guard, yeah.
And he just, because I only talked to him recently about exactly what happened on that given day, on his side. And he said he heard the name and he went back, is that Fergus Farrell from Athenry? And the minute he heard it was Fergus Farrell from Athenry, he downed all tools and drove around Galway.
So he would start looking for you?
2 hours before he found me.
2 hours? He was driving around for 2 hours before he found you?
Yeah.
And what did he say to you then, and what happened to you then that night then that changed things for you?
Well, when he ran across the road and kind of see me, he just said, Gussie, what are you at? And I remember seeing him, I just crumbled. Because, do you know something, those few words was my saving call. Like, as in, I just wanted somebody to grab me and hold me. Yeah. And he never knew that, you know, and that was huge. And then obviously I went and I got signed into the psychiatric ward. I signed myself in. And within those 7 days I was inside in that place, I actually found myself. I found who I was really for the first time in my life, because I had that time within inside the unit.
What do you mean you found yourself?
Well, I feel like a lot of people, we go through life and not really understand why we're going through life. And I found out that what really makes me and drives me is competition and challenges in my life. Everything I did in my life was, even when I was a young boy, picking the biggest number of cabbage plants from my dad. I wanted to be when I wanted to play for Motivational Rugby Football Club, but that wasn't. I wanted to play with Connacht. I wanted to play for Ireland. When I was building my bus business, I didn't want one bus. I wanted to, I wanted to be the best. Even when I set my challenge in the NRH, it was every day was a day to improve. So that was a challenge. And then walking out through the doors, I set a challenge of walking out through the doors. But when I left NRH and I got home and everything was crumbling behind me, I had nothing. So that old saying is, an empty mind is a dangerous mind. That's what happened to me. And
it's all, you're very raw about your marriage breakdown, about everything that's happened there. You kind of really own up to it. There's an awful lot about who men think that they are in this world, and us all just being humans and needing to help. And as you said, competition is something, there's so much to go into, but competition is something that's worked. So you've kind of now dedicated your life to doing various things. I can't tell, so from someone who had no function, who had a 90% chance, you now, you walked all over Ireland. You're now set yourself a challenge for Spinal Injuries Ireland to walk across America.
That's correct, so in 2026, August 2026, I'm walking from Brooklyn Bridge to Salongo Pier, about 4,500 kilometres. I'm hoping to do it in 60 kilometres by 75 days. And it's all to raise funds for Spinal Injuries Ireland, who are very, very important to that community for when you leave the NRH. Without those services, so a lot of people leave the NRH and we fall off a cliff.
Well, it's like you've left there, you had all that motivation, and then you're home and you're empty. Yeah,
and that's where the Spinal Injuries Ireland, and I feel that they're an organisation that can fill that gap properly with the correct funding. And I don't want to see anybody else who has gone through what I went through for that to happen to them again. So that's why I'm taking on this challenge. But it's also to show, step by step, you'll get there. I'm not climbing a big mountain that other people can't do. I'm doing a walk because people along that journey can join me, no matter what their ability is. People through towns, through villages, anything like that, they can join me. Whether it's only for 100 metres or for 10 miles or 100 miles, people can join me no matter what their ability is.
And we don't think about that after after you've had this life-changing injury, what happens to your head when you've left the hospital? What goes on there?
That's the minefield.
It's a minefield because you're a different person. The book is called Rebuilding a Man, and you're going to be doing this for Spinal Injuries Ireland. People can find out about this. They can just find out about it online with you if they want to sponsor and support what it is that you're doing. Fergus Farrell.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for coming in and talking to us.
Amazing story.
Thank you very much,
Grace.
Thanks so much, Fergus.